This episode is supported by FX's Grotesquerie, a new series from executive producer Ryan Murphy. Heinous crimes unsettle a small community, and the local detective feels these atrocities are eerily personal, as if someone or something is taunting her. Starring Niecy Nash Betts, Courtney B. Vance, Leslie Manville, and Travis Kelsey, FX's Grotesquerie premieres September 25th on FX. Stream on Hulu.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Hello, and welcome to Scare You to Sleep. I'm your host, Shelby Novak, and I'm here to read you some true stories sent in by your fellow listeners. Before we begin, I just wanted to mention that I have officially begun my read-through of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. You can find the first chapter right before this episode. The rest will be available on Patreon. Also, this may come a little late, but if you happen to hear this on time and you happen to be around Ontario, California this weekend, drop on by the Creep IE convention and I'll be there hosting a few panels with my Bloody Disgusting friends. I'll also be at the Bloody Disgusting booth if you'd like to come say hello. Now, let's get on with the show, shall we? Our first submission is from Jay. Hi, Shelby. Have you ever felt like you're reliving a moment in time? I have been listening to the show for years and a big fan of what you do. I love spooky things like ghosts and ghouls of the sorts, but today I am not writing to you about that. No, I have just finished listening to one of your true horror episodes about glitches in the Matrix and time loops. Have you ever felt like you're reliving a moment in time? I have. I have a few times, and I'd like to share my true experiences with you. We'll start off easy. One night, I was asleep when I woke up to the darkness of my bedroom. I lied there in bed a few moments, gathering myself before hoisting myself up onto the wooden floor. You see, I wanted to get some water from the bottle across the room on my dresser. So, I walked over, grabbed the still cool bottle from the fridge, unscrewed the lid, and was about to take a sip when I opened my eyes. I was lying down in my bed, in my dark room. Everything still in its place. Water bottle still on dresser, lights still off. Normal. I remember thinking it was weird that my dream got my bedroom so accurate. When most dreams I have, it's just a weird, distorted version of reality. You know when you dream, you get into a fight with your brother, but it's not really your brother? It's that one person from high school? Yeah, that's the type of weird I'm used to in dreams. So, still thinking about the dream I just had, I shifted my weight again and swung my legs over the bed to get up. This time, my feet never even reached the ground. I opened my eyes. I was laying down, on my back, in my bed, in my dark room. At this point, I was starting to piece things together, a dream within a dream. I thought it was strange, but nothing that would last longer than it already had. I was awake now. Getting up out of bed, I checked the full-length mirror on the wall. Yup, it's still me. It's still my room. No distorted reality. I opened my eyes. Lying down, in bed, dark room. Okay, I've had enough of this now. I needed to find a way to tell if I'm awake or in a dream. I could just be laying in bed, opening and shutting my eyes for all I know. So this was my plan. I got up out of bed, walked around to behind my headboard, and stepped on the small foot switch of my floor lamp. My room illuminated with the faint, warm glow of the small light. Satisfied, I crawled back into bed. This way, I can go back to sleep, and if I wake up and the light is on, I'll know I actually woke up. And if the light is off, I'll know I'm really still asleep, and to wake myself back up again until I see the light. I open my eyes. In bed, dark room. What? I hadn't even closed my eyes to fall back asleep yet. So, I couldn't have fallen back asleep into a new dream that fast. I realized I had just turned on the light to know I'm awake while still in a dream. My heart racing, I walked around my bed, feel the switch under my foot click on, back to bed. Eyes open, lights off. Eyes shut. Eyes open, lights on. Eyes shut. Open, lights off. Shut. Open, on, shut. Open, off. There was nothing I could do to wake myself up for real. It felt like hours and hours of opening my eyes to my either warmly lit or dark room. Trying to get up, fiddle with the big overhead light of the room, pace, do anything, trying to force myself awake, I was stuck in a loop. Just to answer a few questions before they arise, no, I didn't just watch some time loop related movies. No, I was not on any substances. No, I have never seen Inception. Anyhow, my brain must have tired itself out. I don't remember falling into a dreamless sleep, but the next time I opened my eyes, it was to a different light of morning. Streaming through the window beside my bed, forcing its way to pull me out of sleep. I was about to write the whole thing off as some weirdly intense and accurate dream when I felt a vibration beside me. It was my fiancé, then boyfriend, wishing me a good morning as usual. But he was concerned, asking if I was all right. And above his text was mine from last night. Sent at 2:04 a.m. Am I awake? Now, as I mentioned, this one was starting off easy. It was nighttime. I was asleep, deep in REM. None of this indicated a real, actual time loop. Have you ever felt like you were reliving a moment in time? How about an entire day? The next experience happened while I was wide awake in the light of day, out and about in the world with people. Now this happened years ago, back when I was around 17 years old. I had started to get in touch with my intuition. One time, my gut feeling allowed my friend and I to turn around on the subway, heading downtown, towards a street that a crazed driver took many people's lives by driving onto the sidewalk purposefully that day. I knew to trust these feelings within myself, especially when the feeling was that something about to happen was going to go wrong. I was in the car, in the passenger seat, checking the bag I packed with everything I'd need for the day. I just convinced my mom to drop me off across town at a local community center for a swim with a friend. I looked out the window as we passed the fenced-in baseball fields, leading right up to the turn towards the sports complex's building. The parking lot had a large U-shaped bend that allowed a driver to pull up to the front door, let the passenger side out, and continue along back out onto the main street. As my mom pulled the gear shift into park, she asked, "So, what time do you need me to come pick you up?" "Around 8? That might be a little late. How about 7? 7:30? I tried. "Sounds good. I'll be here at 7:30 to get you. Text me if you need anything, or if you need me to pick you up sooner. I love you." "Love you too," I huffed as I jumped out of the car, pulling my pack with me, hoisting it onto my shoulders. I didn't turn to watch as she pulled away, just walking straight ahead through the doors of the rec center. Stood there a few minutes, scrolling on my phone, waiting to be really sure her car was far gone, and walked right back out. I wasn't staying in that place. I wasn't going swimming. I don't even know a girl by the name that I said I was hanging out with today. No, I was planning to make my way to a friend of a friend's house, meet up with a group of other unruly teens, and get up to absolutely no good. The lie was a necessary precaution. If my father found out, I'd be toast with a capital T. To keep matters light, I'll just say my father is my main reason for therapy. I've been walking on thin ice already for the past 4 years, always trying to live my life and always falling into some sort of trouble for the efforts. But this was only a day, a few hours at most. No sketchy overnight plans, no being a few cities over, just down the street with some friends. No harm, no foul. I walked a few blocks over to the friend of a friend's. We chatted, got to know each other, and she was actually pretty chill. We went to the backyard when the rest made their way noisily through the back wooden gate. From there, it seemed like a relatively normal day, just kids being kids, enjoying the summer heat in the sun. Then, I started to feel the smallest instance that I had been there before. It started at the back of my brain, the hint of déjà vu, but the moment didn't pass. Each time a person spoke, it felt as though I'd heard what they were saying 100 times over. Like I knew what they were going to say right before the words were leaving their mouth. We left the backyard to wander the streets, stretch our legs, and a few of us skateboarding. I was following the herd, never having spent any time on the side of town, when the feeling grew even stronger. Each turn we made, each new street we came across, it felt like I'd been there before, like I had just lived this exact day yesterday. I even remember running ahead to look at the leaves on a specific tree that I knew were going to shine against the sun in a glimmering way, and they did. I feel like I've lived this day before. Huh? Matt looked over at me, barely turning his attention away from the jokes the others were spouting over one another. I've been here before, with all of you. I remember him, I said, pointing over to my left to a mop of hair under a hat, casually riding along the group on his board. Wiping out, and the pathways, and the trees. Yeah, that's what déjà vu is. It'll pass soon. I'm starting to get a bad feeling. I should make my way back to the rec center soon. What? It's not even 6 yet. Come on. We're almost at the McDonald's. You'll feel better once you eat some food. And the conversation drifted back to normal waters. The feeling was still there, though. All the way to the booth we found ourselves squished into. We ate and chatted, were all over a nuisance in the store, and time flew. The next thing I know, I'm checking my phone. 6. Shit. The feeling that I needed to get moving got more urgent in my gut. Hey guys, I think I'm gonna have to start heading out. I really feel like I need to go. We haven't even finished the nuggets yet. Anyway, what time are you getting picked up? Matt's annoyance present in his rhetorical question. 7:30? I say, guilty, knowing it's still over an hour away. See? Plus, your parents never come and get you early. If anything, they're always late. You're fine. Just hang out a little longer, please? Okay. A little longer. And so, I sat, each second creating a deeper and deeper sinking feeling in my gut. The ever-present feeling of deja vu sharpened. It felt like, if I didn't leave right that second, something bad would happen. My palms began to sweat. The constant beeping of the fry machines and chatter of people so loud it was painful. I forced my way out of the booth to stand. I'm sorry, but I have to leave right now. Okay, but it's too far to go alone. Let me walk you at least. Matt was always trying to find ways to spend time alone with me. I didn't care for him in that way, but was thankful to finally get moving. We walked most of the way making polite conversation, following the path at which we came, around the twists and bends, until I could see the very backs of the fenced-in baseball fields in the distance. While staring off, I noticed for the very first time the fencing followed the field right up to the front parking lot. No shortcut. That's okay. But the U-bend was big, leading to the only accessible door to come in and out from. The panic rose up, and I turned to Matt. Thanks for walking me, but I have to run, now. Don't you want me to walk you the rest of the way? No thanks, I'm okay. Bye, I shouted, already in a light jog towards the large U entrance. Now, I don't know how entirely to explain this feeling. But even as I jogged my way along, I knew I have lived this day before, like I was given a second chance to not royally screw things up. Like in another universe, today went wrong. The gut twist told me to break out into a sprint, and I listened unwaveringly. I kept my head on a swivel, making my way along the cracked pavement, aware of how out in the open I was. How this sidewalk is right along the main street. How if my parents were to see me walking towards the rec center, there would be no talking my way out of it. Sweat trickled down my back, and I pushed forward, picking up my pace as I finally reached the front doors. The cool, air-conditioned rush blew through me with a wave of relief. Knowing my back was to glass doors, I made my way back down a hall, indulging in some deep, calming breaths of chlorinated air from my sprint. The washroom was empty when I got in. Placing my belongings down, I carefully ran my hands under the cold faucet water and began applying it to my hair, only stopping when it looked damp enough that I'd been swimming, but also that it had some time to dry. Scooping my stuff up, I made my way to the lobby and finally took a seat down. I hadn't felt relaxed since my friend's backyard. Obviously, it was silly to run all the way back here, but in that moment, I was content to just sit here and wait on my phone. Not even a full minute later, I got a ping on my phone. We are outside waiting for whenever you and your friend are done. My heart stops. We? She said earlier it was only going to be her, and it was still so early. But the part of me that felt like this whole day was repeating was unsurprised, like I was already expecting it. I'm done, coming now. I shot out the text and slung the bag over my shoulders. It felt surreal, strolling my way back out those same doors I just sprinted through and seeing the family car waiting right on the other side, while sliding into the back seat and looking over to the passenger side to see my father's displeased face. I smiled at both of them. Thank you for picking me up. I was just about to text you that I was done for whenever you were available. The lie falling off my tongue with ease. Oh, it's no problem, honey. I don't mind. We were just wanting to watch a movie tonight is all. The last part of the sentence, her eyes flicking over nervously to where my father sat. I knew she was just as afraid of him as I was. Not looking to have an argument about manners, I added in, "Thank you for coming along, Dad." "You're welcome." And that was it. The rest of the ride back was its usual level of tense. Surface level small talk about their day and how their evening was to go once they were done getting me. While pulling away, I looked through the window and watched as we drove along the long U-bend and past the baseball fields and along the main street. I saw if I'd been the tiniest bit later, they would have certainly seen me along the path, and there was no other if and ors about it. I thought to myself how differently this car ride would have gone, with a lot more shouting and anger, no doubt. I could picture it vividly, like a dream that only happened the night before. But that anxious pit in my stomach unraveled. Tonight, I'd finally be out of the loop. When I got home and went up to my room, changed into warm clothes and collapsed onto my soft bed, relieved, closing my eyes, I thanked whatever was out there for giving me a chance to do the day right. I pulled out my phone to just spend the rest of the night scrolling when I noticed the time. 7:20 p.m. I was back home in bed before the time I'd be picked up. If I walked up even 10 minutes early for the original plan, there would have been hell to pay. Now, I don't know if it was a glitch in the Matrix or a time slip or an alternate universe. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But this is far from my only interactions with the strange and unusual. I've also had a dark entity in my home, as claimed by a highly spiritual family friend, that raised all kinds of havoc, to curses left on our doorstep, to finally having to get a priest involved. So if you want to hear more about the spooky instances in my life, let me know. I'll try to account the stories as accurately to reality as possible. Also, if you have any questions about these experiences, I'd be happy to answer. But I only have one question for you. Have you ever felt like you're reliving a moment in time? Thank you so much, Jay. That was so fascinating. And I am a big fan of time slips and glitches in the Matrix, so that was such a treat for me and really interesting. What do you all think? Do you think that it was great intuition? Do you think it was a glitch in the Matrix or some sort of, deja vu, but she was actually allowed to live the day over? Some sort of happy death day type thing going on? I'd be interested to know, so let me know what you all think on social media and or email me. I'll pass it along to Jay if I can, or if she said she'd like to know some opinions, so yeah, go ahead and send them to me. Okay, on to the next.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. With over 122 million parts, you can make sure your number one ride or die stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
This is what you do when you've just found that statement handbag on eBay and you want to build an entire wardrobe around it. You start selling to keep buying. Yep, on eBay. Over that all-black everything phase? List it and buy all the color. Feeling more vintage than ever? It's out with the new and in with the pre-loved. Next thing you know, you've refreshed your wardrobe basically without spending a dime. Yeah, eBay, the place to buy and sell new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
This next submission is from Ice. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. I actually Googled the heck out of your name to see if I was pronouncing it right. but I didn't find anything. So please correct me, and I will issue a correction on the next episode. I think your name is Ice. Okay. Before I give you my stories, I'd like to let you know that I loved the way you read The Cask of Amontillado. I read it way back when I was 9, and I didn't understand it much, but when you did, I realized how horrible Fortunato must have suffered. The story scared me this time. You brought me back to innocence in a way. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but whatever, LOL. So, a little bit about me. I am used to the paranormal. I cannot yell or scream when I experience them. I just stop and stare. I watch and observe. Time sort of stops. Sometimes I forget that it is not normal for others, and I would casually speak of or look at something that apparently only I noticed. Just to give you an idea of how common the paranormal is to me, this is my first story from my elder sibling's point of view. Let's call it a freebie, wink wink. I was 2 or 3 years old, and my siblings, 2 boys, 1 girl, and I were spending summer in our father's company's summer house in Baguio City. Now, since I was a tiny child, my family has taught me to never use the bathroom by myself because they're too big for me, and that means if I wake up in the middle of the night to pee, I have to wake at least one of them up. The bedrooms were on the 2nd floor, on the right wing. Bathrooms on the left. The hall separating them had a balcony overlooking the family room on the 1st floor, and apparently, I walked across that area in full view of my siblings downstairs, who were still awake and chilling, with my eyes closed, hand in the air as though holding on to someone who led me to the bathroom and back, like I do with them. But nobody else was upstairs with me. There have been many others since then, most almost forgotten. I'll just tell you the ones that really got to me. I'm 16, staying at a friend's house for a while because of a disagreement with the family. My friend and her mom went to the city for school and work, respectively, and I was left alone with just the dogs. I decided to give the house a thorough cleaning because I was feeling cooped up and bored. It was dusk when I finished the last of the laundry and already had the rice ready, just waiting for them to come home. I decided to stretch out on the bed with my feet dangling over the edge, just a quick break. It was dark when I opened my eyes again, and although I never minded the dark, my friend's mother did not care for it, so I knew I had to turn the lights on before they got home. I wasn't able to get up because of a face in the dark, right in front of me, as I snapped my eyes open. I stared back into the eyes, looking into mine, and noticed the face was as dark as the night around us. All I can really see was a pair of eyes looking at me, and it wasn't malevolent, just curious. So I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and stretched, making it obvious I was waking up. When I opened my eyes again, it was gone. That's when I got up and sat on the bed, realizing that whatever it was floating above me because I was lying down when I saw it. I lived in that house for 10 years and never saw it again. But my friend's mother said it was just the house's elemental guardian, still unused to me. Now, I'm 20-ish. My friends and I, including the one I was living with, found a vacant lot in the subdivision right beside the creek that separated the borders between the towns of Marikina and San Mateo. It was overgrown with weeds and flowers, and a big tree almost creating a roof. We set up benches and a table there, which we could easily pack up and take home with us when we're done hanging out. We used candles or rechargeable lamps for the night when we're there, since there was no electricity there, being a vacant lot and all. And we'd hang out all night because it was cooler during the summers, and usually conversations would go well into the night, until the sun was almost up. In any case, on this night, there was just 3 of us hanging out and talking about life, and I began to see a woman in white floating across from us at a huge tree trunk. She was perfectly centered on the trunk. It looked like a frame, and I saw her head was down, sort of bowed, which made me wonder why. When it feels as though she was so beautiful, I wanted to see her face. That's when I noticed the noose. She was hanging from the tree, but I couldn't see which branch. It gets worse. The tree's leaves became a face, greenish face, reddish eyes, pointy teeth. It spoke to me, not words, but knowledge, repeating that she belongs to it. As the evil face filled my vision, the knowledge filled my mind, until I thought my head was going to burst. I only got out because my friend shook and slapped me awake, because apparently I turned cold to the touch with my eyes open and unblinking at the candle we were using. Last story. Sorry this letter is too long. I sure hope you get this. I'm rambling now, LOL. I'm in my 30s now, in an apartment of my own. I live alone and just used to seeing, hearing, or smelling the weird. Someone once told me I'm a natural conduit, and that I should maybe enhance or practice, or at the very least, learn how to defend myself, because not all entities are nice. I honestly don't know where to start with all that, but now I got used to talking to them. I make it clear that I don't want any trouble. We can all just go on with what we have to do, them in their world, me in mine. I have a different version of sleep paralysis. We say bangungo than your submissions because I never see my demons. I have no idea what they look like sitting on me. I will now tell you of the one I actually fought. I just finished my chores, laundry and cat litter and all, and I know daylight was coming. I showered, dressed, and lay in bed. I became conscious that I was dreaming because I realized I was lying on my tile floor, my head facing my front door, which was wide open. I would never sleep on the floor with doors open, hence sort of aware I was dreaming, with voices talking about me, floating in the air. I don't know where my body was. I was just ahead at this point, and I saw the tree branches slamming against the balcony grills as though there was a storm. It was dark out there, light inside where I lay. The only thing keeping it separate was my door. I knew there were several things just outside my door. I just knew, don't know why, just as I know they were speaking to me. I got mad, and that's how I found my body. Tingles like a Charlie horse crept slowly from my neck down as I saw I can move an arm. I reached out into the dark, grabbed someone out there and dragged them in, only managing to get their tie/lanyard, it kept changing, inside. I told them to step into the light and face me, say it to my face, until I punched the wall and truly woke up, completely now. I checked my house. I live alone, you see. Door closed and locked up, daylight slowly creeping in the east. There's more, with mirrors and moving chairs, supermarket trolley ghosts and all. I didn't ask for it, but I'm kind of used to it. Thank you, Shelby. Thanks for listening. I hope to one day land on one of your episodes talking about these. Well, it's your lucky day because I did. And those are pretty crazy. You know, some of the wilder stories I've gotten on this show have come from the Philippines. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if just a culture that's more in touch with the more spiritual side of things or what, but I have noticed a pattern in that. So thank you so much for sharing your very scary stories with us. This next submission is from Carl. Hi, fairly new listener here from rainy old England, and I had a story I was wanting to share from my childhood. It's the reason I know there is stuff out there. I think you have to experience it not to be on the fence. What I'm about to say might not be the creepiest story you've received or the most exciting, but it genuinely haunts me to this day and still frightens me 15 years on. Where I grew up with my parents is a coastal town called Dungeness on the Kentish coast, an area known for shipwrecks, smugglers, and also wreckers. Wreckers were people who would stand on coastlines at night with lights and mimic lighthouses to draw in ships, who would then crash, and the wreckers would loot the wreck. But that's me massively going off topic. Sorry. This all happened when I was, I think, 10 or 11. I come from a fairly spiritual and superstitious family. I still throw salt over my left shoulder if I spill it. So do I. Gotta keep the devil away. My bedroom used to be at the back of the house, with both walls touching the garden, and the walls were made of wood. It was a fairly shabby coastal house, quite old, 100 to 200 years, and lots of it built by hand. One autumn, I started to experience really intense sleep paralysis nearly every single night. The same thing every single time. I would wake up unable to move and feel a presence, something horrible creeping in on me. I could actually feel the pressure in my head, and this intense sense of fear just sort of creep over me. And I would always see a shadowy figure hovering to the left of my head, above me. I could never look at it, just see it in the corner of my eye, and be so frightened. I would nearly always wake up in tears, and often think I had woken up for it only to happen again. This went on for what must have been a couple of months, nearly every single night. I was pretty damaged by it, and my mom would pray in my room and go to church, but it didn't seem to do anything. And one night, I didn't have sleep paralysis, and I woke up, looked to the right of my bed to get out and go for a wee, when I saw her. A girl or small woman stood next to my bed covered in water. I can't remember much of what she looked like, just long hair and water. And I didn't feel in danger or scared. It certainly didn't feel like the sleep paralysis creature, but it was still frightening and shook me. I jumped up and ran out of that room. I went and slept in my twin sister's bed for the night and told my parents in the morning. My mom went to church and spoke to the vicar. He explained that it was the upcoming 200-year anniversary of a horrible shipwreck of refugees from mainland Europe, mainly women and children, whose ships crashed during a storm, and all of them died in this wreck. And that all down our street is meant to be bodies of those victims. The street and town is built on the beach's shingle. It's a massive shingle expanse. And this was really sad. We went to church and lit a candle and prayed, and it stopped. The sleep paralysis disappeared, and I never saw the girl again. I also found out many years later that my sister, whose room was next to mine, also had some experiences and didn't feel safe in my room. Most people just feel weird in that old room, not unsafe, just not relaxed, just on edge the whole time. Sleep paralysis has also creeped back occasionally, and I sometimes still have it, but I can now combat it. I can force myself awake and prevent it from happening. Apart from one recent time, I have a small altar in my room with things to keep me safe, and one night I experienced sleep paralysis and could not fight it off, and what I saw was something crawl from out of my altar. I couldn't see what it was, just that it wasn't nice, and I often experience minor weird things that can be overlooked, but I do think there is something there, maybe following me about sometimes. But I have strong faith and don't fear it. It's my life and my home, not theirs. Sorry, that's really long, and I know it's not that exciting, but it is to me. I'd be happy for you to use it, but would understand if you didn't. Many thanks. Carl. Well, Carl, I did. This story gave me really intense deja vu, and I don't know why. It's like kind of freaking me out. Have I read this on the show already? I swear I'm having the craziest deja vu right now, basically. Like to the point where I'm like wanting to go back through every script if I had time to see if I've read this on the show, because I feel like I've done this before. I'm having really intense deja vu. It's really weird. It's happening right now as we speak. So thanks, Carl, for that. And that's really crazy. The Wreckers. I've heard of the Wreckers before. I feel like there's a classic story about Wreckers, and I can't remember who wrote it, but I'd love to read it on the show sometime. But yeah, it's what a sad phenomenon. Not even a phenomenon, I guess. It's something that a few mean people did. But seeing that little girl, that's intense. I can't imagine. My hat's off to those of you. I think a few of you in this episode so far have mentioned seeing things in your sleep paralysis. Like I've had sleep paralysis several times. I used to get it a lot when I was younger, and I've never seen anything, and I've always felt very fortunate for that, because the things you people say you see during your sleep paralysis, it's a terrifying thing enough. It's a terrifying enough sensation to feel like you can't move or breathe and you feel paralyzed. It's sleep paralysis, so duh, but I can't imagine having all of that stress on top of seeing some shadowy figure in my periphery. Okay, on to the last story of the evening. This is from Brian. First of all, thank you. I just recently discovered the podcast and it's fantastic. You are actually the first and probably only Patreon I'll subscribe to. I personally find everything delightful, from stories to ramblings. I could listen to you ramble all night long, read a phone book, or whatever. I'm sure you must have enjoyed my bonus episode, Shampoo You to Sleep, then, that I came out with on April Fool's Day. I work third shift in a 24-hour donut shop. During the week, it's pretty quiet, with an exception of a myriad of noises and sounds, and I find that dark Reddit/true horror are a perfect fit to get me through the shift. Then I'll come home and let you scare me to sleep. True incident. This is pretty mundane, but in the moment, I was quite freaked out. It only ever happened once, but no one else was in the house. But also, the only way to this particular bathroom was past me through my bedroom, and no one went past me. As I sit in a completely empty house, all of a sudden, my shower just turns on. I heard the water running, had a short, witty exchange with myself before I slowly and reluctantly went to see WTF. But nothing was there. I shut it off, looked around the bathroom, told whatever may have been listening, if it wanted to hang out, I'd be in the bedroom to come on and chill, and that was it. Never happened again. But the seconds between hearing and looking were some of the most intense seconds ever. Again, thank you so much, Brian N. These types of stories are some of my favorites, because especially when it comes to like showers, like a tap, because you have to twist it to turn it on. Like electricity, yeah, it's creepy when the lights flicker, but that can be somewhat explained. But like a tap that you have to physically turn for it to come on is so scary. And like you said, like I know you mentioned this might not be that creepy, but I can see being in that moment. And again, it's so inexplicable, and it's so you're by yourself. You know? So no, this is really creepy. And I've frequently talked to friends and to others about paranormal stories, and some of the creepiest stories I've ever heard that feel the most authentic, that feel the most like true, are some of the shortest ones I've ever heard, because it'll be something like this, like, I don't know, my shower turned itself on and it was really scary, and there's no way it could have physically accidentally done that, so I don't know what it was, but it happened, you know? So that kind of stuff really sticks with me more than some of the others that you would think are more traditionally like creepy or scary, that you would think that I would find scarier. It's these little ones, these little stories of little slice of life moments of high strangeness that I find some of the most fascinating. So thank you, Brian. And thank you for listening, and thanks to everyone who contributed to this week's True Stories episode. If you'd like a true story told on the show, please send it to scareyoutosleep@gmail.com. Please put true story in this subject line. Or if you'd like a fictional story you've written on the show, you can send that to the same address as well, scareyoutosleep@gmail.com. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, you can follow it at scareyoutosleep on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also follow me personally at Shelby B. Novak on Instagram and Twitter, both of which I just say the dumbest stuff. My Instagram stories are usually just ridiculous nonsense. So you've been warned. If you'd like an ad-free version of this show, please join Patreon, patreon.com/scareyoutosleep. I think you probably know the name of the show by now. Have I said it enough times? For $1 a month, you can get ad-free episodes, and for $3 and up, you can get bonus episodes, including the continuity. That's not it. The continuation of The Picture of Dorian Gray, which again, you can go find that first chapter right before this episode. And yeah, the rest of it will be coming out on Patreon eventually. When the entire thing is out, I will compile it into one whole audiobook that you can either access for your $10 and up a month tier, my $10 up and up a month tier, yes, or you can purchase outright, including Frankenstein, which is available to purchase if you don't want another subscription service, but you wanted to listen to me read Frankenstein, you can go just purchase Frankenstein. That's how Dorian Gray will be. In fact, I might actually make it available to purchase chapter by chapter. Patreon just came out with that feature. You can actually post certain episodes for sale, and let me know if you'd like that, if you'd be interested in that for the regular episodes. Like there might be one or two that are your favorites that you would like to have access to ad-free, but you don't necessarily want yet another subscription onto your bank account, because I get it. Everything's a subscription now. I understand. But if you go join there is a free tier. You can join Patreon for free, so you can poke around. And again, I might start making each episode. Please give me your feedback. I can make each episode available for like a one-time fee, so you can kind of poke around and build your own little library of episodes that you like. All right. Creep IE Con. This episode, I meant for it to come out a day early, and I got the eloquent name I've called it is Mushmouth. Basically, when I've narrated too many things in one day or 1 week. Narrating is a very different way of speaking than just talking, and sometimes it's like the muscles in your mouth just won't cooperate anymore. There's a reason why I think in SAG for voice actors you can only record for 2 to 4 hours a day. It's like not a full normal work day, and it's because of the way narrating it, your mouth just, it's like, again, the muscles just atrophy or something, and you can't form words correctly anymore. And that's what happened to me this week. I was reading a lot of ads and things for the network, which, by the way, I've heard some of you have heard my voice around the network on different shows of me reading ads, and I always love it when you guys hear it. You can always let me know if you hear it, because I don't ever really know when they're being played. I just read the script and send it in. So thank you so much for letting me know if you hear me out in the wild. But yeah, if you are hearing this in time tomorrow, my chair is creaking. Sorry, I need to WD-40 this chair. I will be on the Billy Zane panel. I will be on the E.T. reunion panel, and I will also be on the panel with Scout Taylor Compton and Danielle Harris of the Talk Scary to Me podcast. Also, they're in horror movies. They're horror actresses too. But I will be on their panel as well, asking them some questions. So come check it out. Again, I'll also be at the booth, the Bloody Disgusting booth. I think it's like booth 300. I don't know. I'm sure they have a directory. Most conventions have a little directory. So come say hi. I would, last year, like at Midsummer Scream, I could be like, oh, I'm wearing pink today and I'm wearing green today. And this year I'm wearing black. So I won't be, it's not a very recognizable color, especially at a horror convention. Sorry about that. But yeah, look for me and we can chat. So I am going to go. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope all your dreams come true. I don't know. I'm running out of things to say again. I got mushmouth this week. I'm very excited for tomorrow, very nervous about tomorrow. I haven't, I'm a little bit new at conducting interviews. I've gotten a lot of good feedback, which is evidenced by being asked to do these panels, which is nice. At least I know my interviews on this show have been going well, like my last one with Rodney Barnes and Stephen Graham Jones earlier this year. So that's a testament to, I guess, this new thing I'm kind of getting into, which is interviewing people, which I guess is great. I like I've said a million times, I like talking to people. People fascinate me to no end. So I guess that trait of mine goes hand in hand with interviewing people, because what better
what better worlds to come together? Someone who's absolutely fascinated by people and people who are absolutely fascinating. So come check that out if you can. And go drink your water, put on sunscreen, stretch, and go get some sleep. Sweet dreams.